Welcome, everybody. This video is intended to go over the 2004 fire of Barb Yanda's Blazer. You can see it pictured here in the background when Stephen's doing an interview on September 17th of 2004 on Fox 6. He also does an interview on September 11th talking about his wrongful conviction and how he's taking out a lawsuit against Manitowoc. Now let's get to the report. I have Christy here with me, as you can see.
Hi, everybody.
Help read this, go over this report. And after we're done, I'm going to point out some things that are awfully strange and may lead to some other things. But let's get on with it.
Okay.
This report is generated at 9:21 and 43 seconds on 9/21/04. You can see the case number and everything. Disposition is meaning this is the report. Case number 4000 blah 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 8530. Case was closed at 11:26 the same day. This is the fire call. So if we went to the fire reports and found that, we'd be able to look up when that call came in. We have the location being Stengel Road and Zander Road, which is Manitowoc Sheriff's Office jurisdiction. Type of fire, car. We got it 9:22, text fully engulfed in a field. Dispatch, these are officers, stating that the caller was not sure if anyone was inside the vehicle, but was going to turn around to see if anyone was near or inside. Now, they mentioned copies of reports and stuff, but we don't ever have access to that. They talk about them dispatching Fish Mills Fire Department to the area and requesting more assistance. Now, this call is generated at 9:21. Well, at 9:37, Barb Yanda walks over to Stevens and calls the sheriff's department, reporting that the black Blazer is gone. It's been stolen. This is after it's reported on fire. Kind of strange. First, they dispatch Avery's to come get the car, and then they cancel the call to Avery's and then call Paul Rabas from Paul Rabas Towing to come get the car. Rabas arrives, gets the car, takes it to the Manitowoc impound. Case is closed, 11:26. Now, this is the follow-up report. Want to read it, Christy?
Yep. All right, it's going to be easier for me to read from the paper than it is for me to see that screen. All right, at 9:21:04, at 21:21 hours, so that's 9:21. Dispatch received a call from a person stating that a vehicle is on fire in a field off Stengel Road. At this time, dispatch dispatched Tisch Mills Fire Department to respond to Stengel Road and Zander Road. Reference a vehicle fire. A short time later, I was dispatched to the area, and while responding, the Tisch Mills Fire Department was requesting that my assistance was needed at that location. A short time later, I arrived on location where the Tisch Mills Fire Department had just put out a vehicle fire in the East Side Field area off of Stengel Road, just north of Xander Road. As I approached the vehicle, I did observe a WIRP Wisconsin registration plate number 400 EUW, which came back to a 1991 Chevy black in color to a Barbara and Thomas Yonda. The vehicle was an S10 Chevy Blazer SUV in which the interior was fully gutted and all the windows were smashed out. The vehicle was approximately 25 yards off of the roadway and did not appear to have been the result of a traffic crash. Tisch Mills Fire Department informed me that upon arriving on location, they did not view any of the persons in the vehicle, and while checking the area, they did not know anything in the field area to be suspicious. According to the Tisch Mills Fire Department, it appeared that the vehicle was intentionally set on fire and some unknown type of accelerant was used to make the vehicle burn that fast and that hot. In a review of the area, I did not find any evidence. While on the scene of the vehicle fire, dispatch informed me that they received a call from a Barbara Yonda. They reference a report number, reporting that her vehicle with the same registration plate number and description is being stolen. It should be notified that the initial call of this reported fire came in at 21:21 hours, with the call of the vehicle being stolen coming in at 21:37 hours, 16 minutes later. At this time, I did not ask for a tow service to remove the vehicle. I did ask for a tow service to remove the vehicle from the field area and transport it to the MTSO impound area. Dispatch stated that Avery's Towing would be responding. I informed dispatch to cancel Avery's Towing due to the vehicle ownership being from the same facility. Dispatch then stated that Rabos would be responding to the location to provide towing service. During my investigation, I was informed by one of the fire department personnel that a Chris Konopaki, I'm not going to be able to say that.
Konopaki.
What is, okay, I'll let you say that one. Konopaki. All right, I got it. Was traveling through the area and might have seen what was transpired. At this time, I did ask for a second unit to respond to my location, in which Deputy Cummings did arrive shortly thereafter. Deputy Cummings remained on location to provide assistance of the vehicle being removed from the field area and to follow the vehicle to the MTSO impound. Deputy Cummings did provide evidence control of the vehicle, where he did conduct a vehicle inventory of the vehicle. With Deputy Cummings on location, I then proceeded to attempt to make contact with Chris what is it?
Konopaki.
Okay. I was unable to speak with Konopaki at this time, but did leave a message for her to contact this officer ASAP. On 9/22/04, sorry, the animals are tearing apart the house. I did speak with Chris Konopaki, who stated at approximately 9 p.m. she left her residence on Rocky Court, just north of the incident, where she was bringing home her sitter. She stated she did travel down Stengel Road and then onto Xander to the sitter's residence on State Highway 42. During this time, Konopaki stated that she was traveling towards Xander, southbound on Stengel Road. She saw a vehicle facing northbound on Stengel Road with its lights off and no one around. At this time, Konopaki stated that her best description would be a dark-colored car, either blue or black, possible two-door, older model. Konopaki stated this seemed a little suspicious, but did not want to stop due to her being frightened. She continued to drop off her sitter, and within 8 to 10 minutes later, she arrived back at this location, where she observed the car that was pulled alongside the road was gone, and that a vehicle in the field area was fully engulfed in fire. At this time, this incident is under investigation and also should correlate with incident number. On 10/8/04, MTSO received an invoice from Rabos Garage for the towing of this 1991 Chevy Blazer, black in color, which apparently had been burned in a field on Stengel Road near Xander Road. The amount of $150 will be satisfied by this department and should be collected upon release of this vehicle. Okay, hang on. We need something to drink. On 9/27/04, I, Detective Weicker, was assigned to follow up on this incident. No fire investigator had been called to the scene on the night of this incident. Apparently, no photos were taken of the fire scene or the vehicle on the night of the incident. 9/28/04 at 15:15 hours, fire investigator Eric Hansen and I viewed the Yonda vehicle at the MTSO impound garage. I obtained photos of the exterior and interior of the vehicle. I observed that there was extensive damage There was very extensive damage to the interior of the vehicle. There was far less damage done to the engine area of the vehicle. It would appear that the fire did not originate in the engine area. There appeared to be more heat damage to the passenger side of the vehicle than to the driver's side. The lowest burn area seemed to be in the area on the floor directly behind the passenger seat. The running board on the passenger side of the vehicle was completely burned through and destroyed, while the running board on the driver's side was still intact. The entire dashboard area and steering column had been completely destroyed by fire, and most of the remnants were lying on the floor of the vehicle. I, Detective Weicker, did observe what appeared to be an AM/FM cassette player laying on the passenger floor of the vehicle. There appeared to be little or no personal property inside the vehicle at the time of the fire. I observed that the tires on the vehicle were damaged by the fire, but they did appear to have good tread, and they appeared to be newer tires. The spare tire was present on the back of the vehicle and also appeared to be in good condition prior to the fire. All this time, it does not appear as though any components had been stripped from the vehicle prior to the fire. It is unknown if any personal property was removed from the vehicle prior to the fire. At this time, we are unable to make a determination as to whether there were any keys in the vehicle at the time of the fire. The entire steering column and steering wheel had been destroyed by the fire, and the remnants were laying on the floor of the vehicle. We chose not to sift through the debris or further tamper with the vehicle, since it was unknown whether or not the insurance company intended to conduct their own investigation. I made contact with American Family Insurance and spoke with casualty claims representative Nick Geely by telephone at, we don't need the phone number. Geely verified that Barb Yonda had filed a claim with American Family. He advised that Barbara has had an insurance policy with them since 2001. He advised there have been no previous claims filed, and he was not aware of any recent changes to the policy. Geely advised that the insurance adjuster viewed the vehicle and proposed a settlement agreement of $1,900. As of this time, the check has not been issued to Barbara. I asked whether American Family intended to have a fire investigator look at the vehicle. Geely stated that his supervisor had not yet made that determination. He stated he would contact me within a few days to advise if American Family intends to conduct a full investigation of this claim. 9:30:04 at 12:10 hours. I, Detective Weicker, viewed the scene of the fire, which was located in a field northeast of the intersection of Stengel Road and Zander Road. The field is mostly grass and weeds with some small pine trees planted on it. I located a burn circle in the field 71 feet to the east of the east edge of Stengel Road. It appears as though the vehicle was driven into a field access and parked at this location. The field access was located 300 feet to the north of the north edge of Zander Road. The burn circle was approximately 24 long from east to west and 18 wide from north to south. I obtained photos of the fire scene. I then conducted a search of the grass field and the surrounding area, but did not locate any other evidence. I, Detective Weicker, collected a soil sample from the center of the burn circle, 83 feet from the east edge of Stengel Road. A second control soil sample was collected 8 feet to the south of the first soil sample on the edge of the burn circle. These soil samples were secured in a temporary evidence locker at MTSO. I observed that there were no residences in the immediate area that would have had a view of the fire scene. There was a woods to the north, and a large hill obstructed the view of the fire scene. 9:30:04 at 14:30 hours, I, Detective Weicker, attempted to make contact with Barb Yonda, but found no one home at this time. I made contact with Stephen Avery in the driveway outside of the residence. Stephen lives next door. Stephen advised that he is Barbara's brother. Stephen stated he was aware of this incident. Stephen stated Barbara often allowed him to use the 1991 Chevy Blazer, which was involved in this incident. Stephen stated he believes that he may have been the last person to use the vehicle before it was discovered missing. Stephen stated he believes he used the vehicle the day before it was discovered missing. However, he does not recall where he went with the vehicle. Stephen showed me the area where the vehicle was normally parked. He advised me that the vehicle would have been parked next to the ice fishing shanty between the two residences. I asked Stephen if he has a key for the vehicle, and he indicated that he does. I asked him to verify that the key was still in his possession. Stephen removed a large key ring from his pocket, and he showed me a key which he positively identified as being the key for the Chevy Blazer. Stephen stated that the only other key for the vehicle would be in Barbara's possession. He stated he believes that Barbara still has her key at this time. He stated that whoever took the vehicle would have had to have hot-wired it, since both sets of keys are accounted for. Stephen stated he and Barbara were the only ones who ever used the vehicle. He was not aware of any other family members ever using this vehicle. Stephen stated he was the primary driver of the vehicle and he used it more frequently than Barbara did. He advised that Barbara owns 2 other vehicles, which he identified as a Chrysler van and a Porsche. Barbara's husband, Thomas Yonda, owns a pickup truck. Stephen stated Barbara, Thomas, and their son, Brian Dassey, all work together and they usually drive together to work each day. He advised that they normally do not return home until approximately 1,730 hours each night. I questioned Stephen about other vehicles that he owns. Stephen stated he owns a total of 5 vehicles, 1 blue Cadillac, 1 Suburban, 1 blue K5 Blazer, and 2 Monte Carlos, 1 blue in color and 1 brown in color. He advised that one of the Monte Carlos does not run, however, the other 4 do run and are registered. Stephen stated he cannot afford to put insurance on any of his vehicles. He advised that he prefers to drive Barbara's Chevy Blazer and Barbara often drives his Suburban. I, Detective Weicker, asked Stephen if he had any idea who may have had a reason to take this vehicle in light of the fire. Stephen stated that he had absolutely no idea who may have been responsible for taking the vehicle. I asked Stephen if he had any problems with anyone during the past year since he was released from prison. Stephen stated that he has absolutely no problems with anyone and he could not think of any reason why anyone would want to damage the vehicle. Stephen stated he is also not aware of anyone who would have had grudges against Barbara or any other family members. Stephen claimed to have absolutely no idea who may be responsible for taking the vehicle. I questioned Stephen as to his activities on the day the vehicle was taken. Stephen stated he does not recall exactly what he did on that date. He stated he may have worked at Avery's Auto Salvage, but he is not certain. Stephen stated he believes that he and his girlfriend, Jody Strakowski, left to go somewhere together in his Cadillac. However, he could not remember where they went or what they did. Stephen stated that he is certain that they did not use the Chevy Blazer on that date. Stephen could not remember what time they returned home. He stated sometime after they returned home, Barbara came to his residence and told him that the Blazer was missing. After they confirmed that none of the family members knew where the Blazer was, Barbara decided to call the police. Stephen stated Barbara then contacted MTSO from his residence. Stephen does not know what time the vehicle would have been taken. He stated he does not recall seeing the Blazer at any time on Tuesday, 9/21/04. I questioned Stephen about any personal property that may have been kept in the vehicle. Stephen stated that the vehicle was kept very clean and he was not aware of any personal property that was kept in it. He advised that the vehicle would have had a factory installed AM/FM radio, and he was not. Hello?
Yes.
That was weird. He was not aware of any other valuables that would have been in the vehicle. I, Detective Weicker, met with Jody Strakowski at, it's the address they blocked out. I questioned Jody about this incident. She stated on the day of the vehicle was discovered missing, 9/21/04, she was home all day. She stated she was feeling very sick on that day and she never left the trailer. Jody stated Stephen was gone throughout most of the day and she believes that he was likely working at Avery's Auto Salvage. Jody stated she believes that Stephen got home sometime after 1500 hours. Jody stated in the late afternoon or early evening hours, she believes that Stephen was outside working on something. She does not believe that he ever left the residence to go anywhere. Jody stated she went to go to bed approximately 1930 hours because she was feeling very sick. She stated she recalls hearing Stephen come into the residence at approximately 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, thank you. It's not working tonight. The brain's not working. She stated she then fell asleep. Jody later recalls waking up and hearing Barbara's voice in the residence. She overheard Barbara and Stephen talking about the missing vehicle. She stated Barbara then called the police to report it missing. Jody stated the Blazer is normally kept parked next to the ice shanty between the residences. She was unable to see the vehicle from her residence since her view is obstructed by the garage. Jody does not recall seeing the Blazer at any time on 9/21/04. She also cannot recall when she last saw the vehicle on the property. Jody advised that she does not recall seeing or hearing anyone on the property throughout the day. She advised that she has absolutely no idea who may have been responsible for taking the vehicle. Jody could not think of any reason why anyone would want to destroy the vehicle. She advised that she was not aware of Stephen or any other family members having any problems with anyone. Jody claimed to have absolutely no knowledge of who may have been responsible for taking the vehicle. I, Detective Weicker, made contact with Chris Konopacki by telephone. Chris is the person who originally reported the vehicle fire. Chris stated she left her residence at approximately 2100 hours to drop off her babysitter. She stated she traveled southbound on Stengel Road towards Xander Road. Chris stated she observed a vehicle parked along the east shoulder of Stengel Road facing northbound. The vehicle's lights were off and appeared to not be running. She did not see anyone around the vehicle at that time. Chris described the vehicle as being an older model, boxy type of vehicle, dark in color, possibly blue or black. She advised that she was unable to provide any additional description of the vehicle. She could not identify the make or the model. Chris stated after she dropped off her babysitter, she traveled northbound on Stengel Road past the same location. She observed that the car was now gone and there was a vehicle in the field on the east side of the road fully engulfed in flames. She stated she did not see anyone around the vehicle at that time. She immediately contacted MTSO to report the vehicle on fire. Chris does not recall any other vehicles driving past this location while she was waiting for the fire department to arrive. She was unable to provide any further information about this incident.
Now, my question is, why didn't they investigate the sighting of that car there?
I have no idea.
While reading these reports, it seems like their main focus is Stephen Avery.
Yeah, they spend more time talking to him and asking him questions than they do anybody else. Because, I mean, yeah, they spend more time talking to him. They ask him more questions. They do seem to have zeroed in and asking him. I feel like they ask him more questions than they ask anybody else in the rest of this report.
Also, the time that transpires in between when they first talked to him, it's been 9 days.
Yes.
And them stating that they didn't want to do an investigation until they talked to the insurance company first.
Since when does insurance investigation trump criminal investigation? It's not like it was in their driveway and it could have been an accident. This was in the middle of a field. What was it? 300 feet off the road?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what I just read?
Yep.
In no way, shape, or form was this an accident.
This location is a 11-minute drive from Barb Yonda's residence to the location of the fire. Not to mention, this location is due east of Mr. Metz's farm, where he smelt something burning, if you read queso.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Awfully strange. And this location, like, it's perfect. You can't see anywhere from coming east or west. There's a big berm on both sides of the road. One on the east side of the road is a lot bigger than one on the west side of the road. There's no houses in the area on Stengel at all.
The location was definitely picked. It wasn't found by accident.
Yeah.
Whoever put that car there and set it on fire knew where they were going and what they were doing. Precisely.
All right, now we can get the Bobby Dassey statement.
Okay. All right. 10/104, 15:30. I, Detective Weicker, met with Bobby Dassey. Bobby advised that he lives at this address with his parents, Barbara and Thomas Yonda. He also has 3 brothers who he identified as, I'm going to fill in the blanks because I know who they are. It's Brendan and Blaine. And he advised, blah, blah, blah. They're 14 and 15, and they are not yet old enough to drive. Bobby stated that he, and I'm going to assume that's Brian, but I'm not sure why they blocked out Brian.
Because Brian is older than all of them.
Brian's the oldest, so we're going to assume that says Brian, because he says Bobby stated that he and Brian each own their own vehicles, and they never drive the Chevy Blazer. Bobby stated he was not home on the day the vehicle was discovered missing. How convenient, because he was probably running back from where he burned it from.
Okay, now listen. This says he was not home on the day the vehicle was discovered missing. All right, continue.
Okay. He claims to have no knowledge of who may have been responsible for taking the vehicle. Bobby stated on 9/21/04 he attended school at Mishicot High School until approximately 1500 hours. He stated he then went goose hunting with his friend Mike near Mike's property on Nuclear Road. Bobby stated he did not return home until approximately 22:30 that evening. Bobby stated he does not recall whether or not the vehicle was present when he left for school in the morning on 9/21/04. He also does not recall seeing the vehicle when he returned home from school at 15:30. Bobby stated he could not think of any reason why anyone would take the vehicle. I asked Bobby if there was any mechanical problems with the vehicle. He stated the vehicle leaked grease out of the rear end badly. He stated they needed to add grease to the vehicle every week. Bobby stated Barbara and Stephen were the only ones who ever used this vehicle. Bobby was unable to provide any additional information about who may have been responsible for taking the vehicle. 10/104, 14:30. I, Detective Weicker, made contact with,
Brian
I'm
Dash.
not sure. Okay, Brian Dassey, who claimed to have no knowledge of who may have been responsible for taking the vehicle, and Brian stated he only drove the vehicle once or twice, and he has not driven the vehicle at any time during the past 6 months. Brian stated on 9/21/04 he left for work with his mother and father at approximately 5:30. He stated he did not notice whether or not the vehicle was parked at the residence at that time. Brian does not know the last time the vehicle would have been at the residence. Brian stated he returned home from work at approximately 16:30 with his parents. They noticed the Blazer was gone at that time. They assumed that Stephen must have been using the vehicle. Brian stated he changed the brakes in the car. He recalls that Stephen and Jody then returned home in Stephen's Cadillac at approximately 17 to 1800 hours. Brian stated he drove to Maribel to meet his girlfriend, Jill Berger. They returned to the residence at approximately 21:15 together, and they remained at the residence for the rest of the night. Brian stated he does not believe that Stephen or Jody ever left their residence after returning home at approximately 17 to 1800 hours. Brian stated his mother later called the police when they were unable to locate the vehicle. In checking MTSO records, I found that MTSO had been to this residence on 9/19/04 to check on.
Brian's welfare.
Why do they keep, okay, Brian's welfare. I also found that Brian had recently been questioned by TRPD, who's that? Two Rivers
Two Rivers Police Department.
in regard to a sexual assault allegation on 9/19/04. I asked Brian if these incidents could have any connection to the theft and destruction of the Blazer. Brian stated he did not believe there was any connection between these incidents. Brian stated he normally drives his red car, and he could think of no reason why anyone would target his mother's Blazer. Brian denied having any knowledge of who may be responsible for this incident. 11/104, 1700 hours. I, Detective Weicker, met with Barbara Bionda at her residence. Barbara stated she does not know exactly when the vehicle would have been taken. She stated she believes that Stephen was the last person to use the vehicle. She stated she believes Stephen used the vehicle on Saturday, 9/18, or Sunday, 9/19. Barbara stated the vehicle could have been taken anytime after the weekend. She advised that the vehicle was parked in the yard next to the ice shanty and the doors were unlocked. Barbara stated that she does still have her key in her possession. She then showed me her key ring and identified the key for the Chevy Blazer. Barbara advised that there are only 2 keys for the vehicle and both keys have been accounted for. She believes that whoever took the vehicle would have had to have hotwired the vehicle. Barbara stated she has absolutely no suspects at this time. I questioned Barbara about any personal property which may have been in the vehicle at the time it was taken. Barbara stated the vehicle was kept very clean and there was little or no personal property in the vehicle. She stated there may have been a plastic window scraper in the vehicle and there may have been a few cassette tapes in the glove box. However, she could not recall any other personal property in the vehicle. Barbara stated the vehicle would have had the factory installed radio cassette player. She did not recall any other valuables in the vehicle. I asked Barbara about the condition of the vehicle. She stated the vehicle was in good condition and it ran great. I asked if there were any mechanical problems and she stated there were no problems that she was aware of. I asked Barbara if the vehicle leaked any fluids and she stated it did not.
Okay, now why is Bobby Dassey completely contradicting what his mother just said? And he also states that this is a vehicle that he never drives. So why does he know exactly what's wrong with it?
That's very interesting. I didn't catch that the first time I read it this morning. Okay. I, Detective Weicker, questioned Barbara about the events which took place on 9/21/04. Barbara stated she, her husband Thomas, and her son Brian left for work at approximately 5:30. She stated none of them noticed whether or not the Blazer was present at that time. She stated they returned home from work at approximately 17 to 17:15. At approximately 17:30, she was going to use the Blazer to run to Mishicot when she discovered that it was gone. She assumed that Stephen had the vehicle. She then noticed that Stephen's Cadillac was also missing. Barbara stated she called Stephen on his cell phone, and Stephen advised that he was in his Cadillac and that Jody was with him. He stated they were currently on their way home. Stephen advised that he did not know where the Blazer was. Barbara stated Stephen and Jody arrived home together at approximately 1800 hours in the Cadillac. She stated that she and Stephen attempted to locate the vehicle on the property, but they were unsuccessful. Barbara stated she then checked with other family members to see if anyone borrowed the vehicle. She then waited for her husband to get home from Fleet Farm to see if he knew where the vehicle was. She advised that Thomas drove to Fleet Farm in his pickup truck. After checking with all the family members, they determined that nobody seemed to know where the vehicle was at.
All right.
Barbara then decided.
When Brian's giving his statement, he states that they all arrived home together, and that's when they all knew that the Blazer was missing.
And now she's saying that Tom wasn't with them.
Exactly. Go on.
Barbara then decided to report the vehicle stolen. She advised that the officer later informed her that the vehicle had been burned up. Barbara stated she did file a claim with American Family Insurance. She stated the insurance company informed her that she would receive a check for approximately $1,800 to $1,900 for the vehicle. Barbara stated she recently put new tires on the vehicle less than 1 year ago. She stated she purchased 4 brand new tires from Fleet Farm. She believed that she may be able to locate the receipt to verify this. I recalled that the tires on the vehicle did appear to be in good condition prior to the fire. There was no indication that any components were stripped from the vehicle prior to the fire. Barbara claimed to have no knowledge of who may have been responsible for taking the vehicle. I questioned Barbara about the location of all family members at the approximate time the fire occurred. Barbara stated Stephen and Jody never left their residence after returning at approximately 1800 hours. She stated Brian left the residence sometime during the evening to meet his girlfriend. She stated Brian returned home with his girlfriend prior to the time.
Okay. Why? There's one instance in here where they don't redact Brian's name, and that's right here. Her husband Thomas and her son Brian.
I just completely lost my space.
Why is that?
I don't know.
But the question.
Why are they redacting Brian's name at all?
I don't know.
Okay. She stated Brian returned home with his girlfriend prior to the time that the officer arrived at the residence. Barbara estimated that he returned home at approximately 22:30. Deputy Zimmer arrived at the residence at approximately 23:01. Barbara stated she could not recall whether or not Bobby was home at the time of the incident. She also stated that she recalls that her husband Thomas did go to Fleet Farm for a few hours during the evening, but returned home prior to the time that she called the police. Barbara advised that Thomas was hunting at this time. Therefore, I would be unable to speak with him. I requested that Barbara sign a consent to search form authorizing me to conduct a further search of the vehicle for the purpose of conducting a fire investigation. I informed Barbara that we were particularly interested in examining the steering column to determine whether or not the vehicle was hot-wired. Barbara did sign a consent to search form authorizing a search of the vehicle. I informed Barbara that the search may be conducted at a later time with the assistance of a person who is qualified to examine the steering column and make a determination as to whether the vehicle may have been hot-wired. I advised Barbara that if she at any time changes her mind about consenting to a search of the vehicle, she should contact me by phone to advise.
Okay.
11-9.
So Weicker is finally turning over his report to the lead person, Deputy Bushman. So now Bushman is the follow-up officer for the whole incident. We all know who Bushman is, right?
You might have to refresh my memory a little bit. Bushman.
He was there, one of the arresting officers for the Senator Morris.
That's what I thought.
And the Bernstein incident.
Yes. That's what I thought.
He's also the same officer that's brought in for approximately 9.5 hours for one day, November 7th, 2005. and never comes back.
That's a little odd. Was that the day he brought the bones?
Something strange happened that day.
Was that the day he had to drop off the bones?
Mhm.
Okay. 11904. I, Deputy L.A. Bushman, met with Bobby Lee's Towing at MTSO impound to release this 1991 Chevrolet Blazer, having a VIN of, not going to read that. The Blazer was released to Bobby Lee's Towing for American Family Insurance. I received from Bobby Lee Towing's check for $150 to satisfy the towing on 92104 by Robus Garage. Receipt number was issued to Bobby Lee's Towing for the check. The check was turned over to DIW Beck at the completion of my shift.
All right, so we have this case being current status. This case is closed. That's what it says. Now, if we go to Avery's activity log, well, let's see what it has to say for that incident. We have it right here. Same 8530 92104 has not been disposed. Car fire, stolen vehicle. Why is this on his activity report? And this report was generated in 2016 by Larry Laduna.
It should never, in my opinion, it should have never been on Stephen Avery's activity report. And if for some reason they found a valid reason to add it to his, it definitely, it clearly says it's closed.
Okay, now
Right here.
Stevens says he's with Jody. They verified Jody's statement. They verified Stevens' alibi. Everything that everybody else says can verify what Stevens said took place. Now, why do they never talk to Tom Yonda? And the excuses of why they don't talk to him are bullshit.
Right. Okay.
Why do they never verify Bobby Dassey's alibi? He claims to be hunting with Mike. They don't ever talk to him. Or did they and just not include it in the report? Manitowoc is notorious for not doing things. So it doesn't surprise me.
Or for leaving pieces out.
That sexual assault allegation thing they reference to, it may have something to do, because if you go back in his reports, you can see that in August, right here, 8/26, sexual assault contact Avery. Then we have family fight, 8/11/04, sexual contact. Then we got this. Okay, so Manitowoc is notified about, these are all the Manitowoc reports in this activity report. Anything from Manitowoc Police Department has been denied. It's redacted. Can't see it. Try to get reports, won't give them to you. I don't understand. But then we got Marie's sexual assault report, which is the day after. And it states in here that on 8/12/04, Calumet County Sheriff's Department is contacted by Manitowoc, reference to sexual assault
of a child by Stephen Avery,
which is Marie. Then we got Queso's report where Baldwin is interviewing Marie. And if somebody was trying to set Stephen up, what would be their motive? They obviously don't like Stephen Avery, for one. Well, when they're questioning Marie, she begins to talk about her boyfriend she had at the time. And when we listen to these jail calls, she's dating him then too. And she states that Mike does not like Stephen at all.
Right. Right. That's
and when they're questioning Marie, it's reference to this sexual assault report.
Correct.
It's just
the same sexual assault that they reinvestigate in 2006.
Now, my question is, why Does Wiegert ask Jody this?
Let me ask you a question. When did you get together with Steve the first time?
End of May, June.
Of year.
2004?
Okay.
No, definitely no.
Okay. Do you remember his car being burned? Back in 04? Car of his allegedly being stolen. And found burned.
His sisters?
It could have been his sisters, yeah. Remember that?
A
Could have been
Blazer
his
that-
sisters. It is his
What do you know
sisters.
about that?
That somebody stole it and they reported it.
Where was it stolen from?
I believe it was her. I was sick that week.
Were you home
Yeah,
during that?
in bed.
Now, in the report, Jody talks about not feeling well, right?
Yep.
Now she's stating the same thing. What? This is almost
10
2
years later, 10, 11. Yeah. Well, no, 1 year later. I'm sorry.
Working up at the junkyard.
Did he ever tell you anything about that?
No.
You sure? Who would know that it was there, that they would come down and even be able to steal it? Way down
I
there.
have no idea.
Doesn't that seem a little bit odd? Way down there where nobody really knows who's living there, or it's not like it's right on the main drag where somebody would see a car that they want to steal.
Yeah.
Why would somebody steal a car and just go burn it up?
I have no idea.
Doesn't make much sense to me. Does it to you? If you're gonna steal a car, you're gonna steal it for a purpose, and that would be to use it, or to sell it, or to parts it out, something.
Something.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Does it make sense to you that somebody would just steal it and take it and drive it and burn it?
Not really.
No. Well, it doesn't make sense to me either. I think Steve had something.
I have no idea.
You sure?
Yeah.
He never said a word to you about it?
No.
Never questioned him on it?
No.
You just took it at face value that it was stolen?
Yeah.
Seem odd to you, though? I mean, does any of this stuff seem odd to you? Or does Steve just have a lot of bad luck? I think we're probably finished.
All right. The first portion of that video is right after they play the phone call between Steven and Debbie.
So they try to piss her off at him.
Yeah.
And then they decide to let's talk about the fire. Let's talk about the fire.
But she doesn't know anything.
No, because Steven doesn't know anything because Steven wasn't part of it.
So
Right.
you got to keep in mind, this is after Wendy leaves the room. So then Wendy comes back in, and then what does Mark Wiegert do again?
Sorry I had to leave you with this. She's got some things to think about, what we talked about, and she's going to give us a call. She's got your card, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to give her mine.
My beautiful pink card.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Oh, you're a guy.
I
You know.
Pretty sure I have one for you here, young lady. So about that truck of his that burned up, you know anything about that at all?
No.
No, sure.
Just that was Barbara's, not his.
And again,
How about we go out and have another smoke?
That sounds good.
Sound good?
Yeah.
so let's dangle cigarettes in front of her face. That's how they got her. Son of a bitch.
Yeah. And they talk about, well, Dave's going to take you back, Dave Remacher.
Like they're buddies. Like this is. I don't think I've ever watched that video with Jody, to be completely honest with you. I don't think I've ever watched it.
Well, I don't understand why when we see Steven's interview, we see them walk into the room. Brendan's interview, we see them walk into the room. But this, it's like started midway through.
Yeah.
They're part of this missing because they talk about letters too. We don't see them discuss the letters. We just hear the audio of them play the call.
And we know from the phone calls that they told her about the letters. We know that they have copies of them. She yells at Stephen for it. So
No,
we know
was
that they
the
did that.
person that received this, were they given the full copy and they edit part of it out, or was this the entirety what they were given to them?
I don't know. Maybe we need to FOIA the whole thing.
So
Maybe we need to FOIA it again and see what happens.
but I don't know. It's awfully strange. I mean, everybody is alibied. Stephen, they talked to Jody, verified it is. Barb's statements, Brian's statements. We never talked to Tom, so
We talked to Brendan.
they talked to Blaine. Talked to Bobby. Bobby says he's with Mike. They didn't talk to Brian. Brian says he's with his girlfriend. So what do? They talk to his girlfriend, Jill Berger, verify her statements. Mike O, never talked to. He's with Bobby.
Again.
He be his alibi.
He's not talked to.
Tom Yonda, never talked to. So, I don't know.
So I want to point out this pattern too. We have Bobby acting a little suspicious. We have Barbara changing her story. We have stories not lining up. And we have MTSO focused in on Stephen Avery again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, the car was obviously burned, so there was no way to prove it. But it almost makes one wonder, just because Stephen had a Chevy Blazer key on his key ring, and just because Barbara had a Chevy Blazer key on her key ring, does not mean those were the Chevy Blazer keys that started that Blazer. Bobby and Mike O could have absolutely stolen a Blazer key off of Barbara's key ring or Stephen's key ring. I'm sure they're in a freaking junkyard. I'm pretty sure finding another set of keys for a Chevy Blazer isn't going to be all that hard, right?
Yeah, but why, of all the vehicles that are on that property, why that one?
Because that's the one that they could pin on Stephen somehow. I'm
The
telling
fact
you, that
there's
tape recorder.
two keys. That means somebody that had access to that to the Dassey Yonder residence could have took Barb's key and he could have not noticed, or she did notice, and that's why she waited so long. Because they come home at 5:30 or 4:30, and they notice it's gone, but she doesn't report it stolen until after it's on fire.
16 minutes after it's on fire. So when was that? After Bobby let her know that he was away in a safe distance and it's cool, now you can report it?
Good question.
Or did she really not know? Because I don't like the fact that I don't like the fact that Brian says they all went to work together and they came home together, and Barbara says something completely different. This happens in Stephen's case with the deer. There's different stories with the deer. There's different stories about the fire. There's different stories.
Why do they take so long to talk to Barb? If she's the one who reported stolen, when they talk to her first?
No, they went to talk to Stephen first.
Well, they claim they went to go talk to Barb, but she wasn't home, so they talked to Stephen, and he informed them that he, in fact, had access to the Blazer. So I don't know, but they talked to Barb last.
So what do you want to do next? You want to talk about who we think did this, or?
I don't know. I just feel if they would have actually done a proper investigation.
I feel like we have some of the same players. We have all the same players. I shouldn't even say some. And I think it's pretty odd that Mike O pops up again. That Mike O is part of the story. Yeah.
What does Brendan Dassey say in his first interview in Crivets? Oh, Mike and Bobby go goose hunting every day.
Every day. Except October 31st, 2005.
Talk to Mike Osmunsen's mother. What does she say? Oh,
they go goose hunting every day.
On their property every day. Bobby Dassey, 2017. What did he say? Oh, they treat me like I'm one of their sons. So.
And we have found that they're still in contact as of, I believe, about a year ago. We have pictures of them all together. Facebook stalking's great. So we know that they're still close.
And where was
So
Bobby staying the whole time during the Avery property and Dashie's residence being off limits? He was at Mike O's house.
and Mike O is the boyfriend of Marie Avery, the one that Stephen is being accused of sexually assaulting.
Yep.
And as you pointed out, Marie states Mike hates Stephen. So was this an attempt to get rid of Stephen and it failed? And they went back to the drawing board, and a year later, enter Teresa Halbach?
Don't know. That's a good.
Was I after going over this with you and doing this with you tonight, I don't know, you might have me starting to believe there might be two Ravs. And you know that I have thought that is an absolutely ludicrous theory since you and I met, but I don't know. I mean, it makes sense. If they burned one once, let's just say it is Mike and Bobby. What if they burn Teresa? You're right. What if you're right? I now jumped on the two Rav bandwagon. Those are words I never thought would come out of my mouth.
Does Mr. Metz's statement have some kind of substance? Oh, when he says there's a fire, and when he says there's a fire, he's heading east on Xander in the same direction of Stangl.
So they already know that they found a place to burn a vehicle and it wouldn't be seen.
And the tow
And
company, Paul Rabas. Who removes the RAV from the property? Paul Rabas. Who comes back in March? Paul Rabas.
How many other towing companies were there other than Rabas and Avery?
A few, but there's Cleveland.
So there was other options. So my point is there was other options. So it's very odd. I mean, I understand how police rotation works. I used to work in a garage. The chances of the same company being used for every single incident, it seems very, that many coincidences doesn't seem to sit well with me. There's a rotation.
Yep.
I understand. At first I said, why not let Avery tow it? But okay, I get it. Conflict of interest, kind of like MTSO and Calumet back in 2005. So I get why they didn't let Avery tow it that night. But it's just very odd that Rabas is involved in all these incidences as well, especially if there was other.
Well, just think if the RAV found on Avery's did come from a junkyard, that's why it has a battery and it doesn't belong, because they needed to get a battery.
It's possible. It's possible.
Just damage to the vehicle that can't be explained. The missing parts, the carpet's untucked. There's photos of things on the vehicle in one photos, and you look at other photos and they're gone. Like there's photos of the RAV in the box, and you can see that the seats are folded up and there's plastic over the seats. But all the other photos we see of it, the seats are down. The light's tucked underneath it.
You're right.
Too many strange things going on. And why do they purposely state Karen Halbach calling at the wrong time and saying the wrong thing?
The wrong color.
There's too many. They claim to be typos, but these are search warrant documents. You would not be making typos on those. Why does
one would think you wouldn't?
I mean, the car, just in the 122 pages of search warrant documents we have, the car goes from a 99 all the way back to a 94 at one point. Why are all officers stating that they're standing by a green vehicle, but then it turns out to be blue? But I don't know. Things that have to go for investigation and fire just, I don't know, doesn't make sense.
I agree. I agree 100%. A lot of it doesn't make sense. There's too many coincidences. It's a very valid, to me, it's very valid theory linking all this together. For me, it works. I'm not saying it's the one that cracks the case. I'm not saying it's the definite, but it's definitely a theory that works. It gives Maiko had motive. And it's very odd that he's never talked to. And what did they have one conversation with him in 2005 where he makes that bullshit bogus statement about his joke with Stephen Avery and getting rid of a body?
Mhm.
They don't talk to him about anything else. And they don't even talk to him about this, but yet he's Bobby's alibi.
Why
So
do
why aren't
they?
they talking to him?
Why do they give us access to Bobby Dassey's 11/17/2010 interview, but when it comes to his November 9th, sealed?
Because the one on November 9th doesn't say what the one on November 2017 says. Because they told him what to say in 2017. They told him what to say before they turned on that recording.
I guarantee it.
And they let his kids run around and what kind of not that it was an interrogation, but what kind of follow-up was that you have what, two little toddlers running around being a huge distraction during that?
Yep.
Never.
But
Never.
thank everybody for attending this, and
Thank you.
and this went down pretty good compared to my previous lives. But see y'all next time.
Bye-bye.